Right, welcome back again to the Supra building of this fuel pump hanger. So basically in the last video we got this painted, it's now set. So it's now time to get all them bulkheads put back onto this plate and get it all built back up to spec, and then it can go back in that fuel tank for the final time. So I'll not bore you with the next bit because it's mainly just bolting everything together. So everything is sealed using up some fuel safe O-rings and that, so it's just a bit of a boring build, but I'll show you the finished product and then you can see what it's like at the end. Right, so now that I've built up the top, put all them O-rings in, it's time to now get the rest of all of that lot put back together again. So I'll do a little time lapse. Right, and there we have it. So it's all fully finished now. Everything is all wired up. All of the AN fittings have all been torque tight, and well, not torqued, but you know what I mean, nipped up. So they're all good to go. So now it's just a case now of getting it back into the car, and I can sort out the electrical wiring for it, and then we're getting a little bit closer. One little job though before I do that is this. This is some rubber, basically a rubber sheet. So I'm going to make a gasket for the underside of that, the fuel pump hanger there, so that it just seals any gases from coming out from the tank. So I'm going to get that traced out now, and then I'll get that cut out and put on underneath there, and we'll take it from there. There we go. So I've cut like out a little O-ring, so that should be sufficient now to get on that fuel pump. So from the fuel pump hanger, I should say. Anyway, let's get that out to the tank and get it installed. So I've just put on all of the pipes. I forgot to film that bit, but I'm now just going to nip them all up. Make sure they're all tight. Ideally, I would love some AN dedicated aluminium spanners, but unfortunately I'm not rich enough for that. So I'll just make sure these are nipped up with the standard crappy spanners, you know. It's a hold U, which I can't do. That's them nipped. I need one for that size though, which I don't have an Imperial for that. So my next job is to get this wiring sorted. So where the hole is there, it needs to go underneath there, underneath the floor, and pop up where them terminals are on the fuel pump lid. So I'm just going to get them wrapped now with a bit of basically loom tape, just to make my life a lot easier when you come to feeding it through. So then you've only got one wire to get through instead of 4, including that wire with a plug on it as well. So just going to get on with that now, and then we'll get cracking. It's a bit warm under here today. Right, so I've just done a quick wrap on the loom there. As you can see, it only got to go from where the hole is to round about here, because then it's going to split anyway for the 4 ports. So that's all I need to do for now. I've left this separate external to this loom because there's not a lot of wiring space underneath here to get all 4 of those wires and the plug through at the same time. So I'm just gonna have to try and muck about a bit down here. So wish me luck. So I've got here a piece of wire, nice strong wire. So I've twisted it together, loop on one end, it's just open on the other. So I'm going to tie the end of the loom there to this loop, and then feed this underneath, sorry, and then tie it to the wire and then pull it back through, hopefully. And hopefully that's going to work in order for getting the all these wires through. So I managed to feed it under there. As you can see, it's gone underneath, and I've now managed to pull it through the hole here. So the next job is to just tape these or tie them somehow to the end of that loop, and then we'll get them pulled through. And there we have it. So I tied the end of that on there, and I've pulled them through, and I've put the plug from the other loom, so let me feed that in a little bit more onto there like so, and it's just give us enough wiggle room to get that big bulbous bit of the plug through there. So hopefully that's long enough. I couldn't get it through here where I wanted it, so I've had to go over there. I might be able to wiggle it over now that I've got it through, but hopefully that's in the right spot. And there we have it. So there's plenty of length on the wires on that plug. That's almost in position, and there's still plenty of length left on there for that plug to go back in its standard position up there. So now all I've got to do is just find a place that I can locate these big plugs. I might stack them there, I'm not quite sure. I might even put them on the bulkhead next to the relays. I might even relocate the relays to the back over here, and then put the plugs here on the front and just loop everything under and through. But yeah, all I've got left to do now is to make off the ends for these. So I just need to make sure that I've got the correct positives, pump 1 and pump 2, positive and negatives. So I'll make sure I get them as pairs, and then we're pretty much ready to go. Right, so I've decided I'm going to mount the plugs here. I've just drilled and riv nutted one bolt there, so I've still got a bit of play in this, so I can decide finally at the end where I need to be, so I can either angle the cables down so they're closer to the floor, and then these ends up here I'm going to remount the relays. Believe it or not, I could put them back there, but then there's a lot of faff of bending wires to get them to the right lengths and stuff, so I'm thinking I might just mount them sideways like that, and then I've just got wires leading straight in, so everything's kept nice and neat. I mean, I know I've just riv nutted those 2 holes in there, but it doesn't really matter too much. I mean, I might be able to get away with it. I'll see how I feel in a bit. And then the earthing points for these, I'll probably feed them both through the gap there, out the other side and around and up to this point here. So I can either go to this point that is going to be close to the battery once I get the battery in, or I can go to this point here. This one's probably a stronger earth because this is the main chassis rail, whereas this is just a tinny bit that's spot welded in a few places into the boot floor, so that's probably the better option. So I think I'll take it to there. So I've decided to put them exactly back where they were, because it still gives me enough room. If you look at this wire here, it still gives me plenty of room to get the wires bent down and into the associated ports on there. So all I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut them wires to the correct length, and then I've got the crimps here to go on. But again, if you remember from an earlier video, I'm going to have to solder these on because I don't have a crimping tool that is quite big enough for those. So yeah, so I'm just going to get these measured out, and then I know exactly where things need to be. Right, so I've put the crimps on the end now, so it's just a case of getting them installed into these relay bases, and then I know where the wires are going to get routed. So in order to do that, I just need to unscrew these two, and then I can get at the bases a lot easier. So let's see if I can plonk you down there. There we go. One. Two. Alright, I'm just going to come around that side because it's easier. Right, so this one is going to go in there. I think it's that way. There you go. And you're going to get fed through there. And in like that. So that's those two installed. Put the screws back in. Everything is held. Now I do apologise if the audio is coming through a little bit quiet. See, it's currently 20 to 11 at night, so I'm trying to be as quiet as possible doing this. He says making the most noise possible. There we go, so that's the pump side wired. So these are going to be to the battery. Them other two wires. And they're going through that gap as well, because they're all going to go to the same earth. So all of these four here need to go through that gap. Typical, innit? I'll have to do them individually from around here. Oh, I don't have a lot of space to walk around this side of the car. Right. That's one. Where have you gone? That's two. And then you and you also need to go through. I'm going to loom wrap all this before I'm finished, so don't worry about it rubbing on metal and being exposed. So it's all going to be insulated. Right, so that's everything through there now. Sorted. Oh. So the next thing I need to do is just shorten these wires a bit by pulling them through here a bit further. But if you remember, I've loom wrapped it to there, not knowing quite how long I needed here. So I'm just going to pull it back out of this way, continue the loom wrap from here down, and then when I pull it through, however long the loom wrap is on it, I'll take it back off again. These wrap it like that. Right, that'll do. Oh. So now I need to pull that back through there, put you back on there so you don't get pulled all the way back through by accident, like that. Next is you back on there. That put you through and you're quite tight, and there we go. I think we've got it. And then this will take a feed from a wire up here. So I think from memory, tighten that up. So the ECU for the fuel, mini ECU just here, so I believe it's this red and blue. I'm pretty sure it's a red and blue one there anyway, which is the same as what's in this plug here. So the red and blue feed there is where I need to take my splice from to feed the switch for the relays. So that's the next task. So luckily I kept the old wire which was for this to feed the pump. So this is original pump feed wire, this is a positive. I think the black and white wire was a negative, don't quote me on that, but I think it was. So this plug here, what I'm going to do now is going to open it back up again and put this into the associated slot on that mates up with the red and blue wire in there, and then I'll splice off from this to feed these two wires to the relays. So if you ever come to this plug, all you need to do is pry underneath the edge of that white bit, pull it up, and then you can pull the contacts out. When I pulled this one out, I did actually break part of the plug, as you can see, but it still works fine. So that plug, that wire is now in the same slot as the trigger wire, which is that red and blue. So now that they're in the correct slot, sorry, I'm trying to do this one-handed. Click them back together, put that where you want it to be, so that's going to be there, and then I'm going to now cut these wires and splice these three together. So hopefully when you turn the ignition on in the car, it sends a signal down this line to say prime the pump. That'll trigger these two wires, which in turn will fire the main red wire there, the main power wire that will be linked to the battery through the relay to the pumps, in theory. Now bearing in mind I'm doing all this without a battery in the car, I don't have one, the battery is going to get relocated, so I cannot test any of this electronics until I get a battery in this car. So it's all this is a little bit sort of not guesswork as such, because obviously I know what I'm doing, don't I? But yes, it's not the easiest. And it doesn't help that the back of my knees are killing me from bending over into this blooming boot. So, but there is light at the end of the tunnel, so let's get to it. So first things first, I need to make sure that that clip there is exactly where I want it to be before I start cutting any wires, which is looking pretty good there. So I think what I'm going to do is going to get to the nitty gritty, put a little bit of a loop in these wires so that it's not too tight. So for me, they can go about there. It's always daunting cutting wires. So put that one back in again because it keeps coming out. It's only held with a little tiny clip that's not fully installed yet. So what I'm going to do, we're going to put them snips now right there. I'm just going to copy that and snip that about there. Next thing, strip the ends of all three wires and get them spliced together. Right, so there you go, that's that wire been cut, spliced together. So now just get a heat shrink over it. I did have my lighter, what have I just done with that? There we go. So let's get that closed up. And there you go. Job done. So that now will go tucked away in that corner down there. And all that is relatively neat and tidy. I will be tidying it up a little bit more as we get along with the build, but all that will be tucked away nice and neat down there, so I'm happy with that. Just wish that one had stayed put. But we'll get there. So yes, so that is that job complete. What I'm going to do though, I'm going to put the relays in it. That one there. Not pushing them in all the way yet, because I'll probably have to take them out at some point to tidy up the wiring, but just so that they don't get lost. So that is that corner complete. So as of now, I think it's bedtime because it's now 11 o'clock at night. So get myself off to bed. Tomorrow is a fresh new day, and we'll take it from there. See what's next. The next thing I think is this. Is to sort out the positives and the negatives that go to the pump, but I'm going to have to go through my images and see which one was a positive, which was a negative. Can't remember which way around they were. It won't be too hard to find out. And then I've got some of these ring tag clips that that'll crimp into there and are the right size for those ports. So yeah, so we're getting there slowly. We'll get there eventually. And hopefully after that, once all this wiring's done, I think it's pretty much time to start looking at the engine again, and possibly getting a clutch on it, and the engine mated up to the gearbox. So hopefully that'll be coming up in the next few videos or so, and yeah, so see you soon. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon.